Hey everybody, how y'all doing this morning? I was just sitting here taking a minute with the Lord. I'm about to go do some work today, I guess. I was thinking about, sitting here thinking about that rabbit. That rabbit's been on my mind since yesterday, and I studied a little bit more about that rabbit. Turns out that rabbit is also a symbol of abundance and multiplication, because rabbits, they multiply pretty quickly. Yeah, you have some rabbits. I remember when I was young, my aunt had some rabbits, and one of my cousins, he raised rabbits. You know, rabbits and rats are not the same thing. You know, cats are about the same too. They have litter after litter, and they multiply pretty quickly. So that makes sense. They're a symbol of abundance and multiplication. So it got me thinking, about the message the Lord was giving me when I seen that rabbit. It was, the first thought was, he was telling me, don't be fearful like the rabbit. Don't bolt when things get scary. And stick next to him. So, but he was also telling me what was coming on the other side of it. That's the way the Lord works. He gives you a message of, for now. And he gives you a promise for after. So, I've said this many times, and I believe it because I've seen it too many times myself. That you get a test, and then you get blessed when you get there onto the other side. And the bigger the test, the bigger the blessing that comes out of it. When you get a monumental test, you get a monumental blessing. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It doesn't help none with the nervousness and the anxiousness when you're going through it. I mean, I helped a little, but it's still difficult. But I think that if you didn't have the promise, what would be the point of even trying to pass the test? That's why a lot of people don't. They don't realize there's a promise on the other side. I was, you think about people that, the people that heard about Jesus when Jesus, or even the apostles, when they heard about these miracles that was happening and things that was happening with people, and they went on these journeys that people come from far and wide, so they could just they heard about something that was, and they believed that it was a promise that if they made it there, that they was going to receive something, that they was going to get a blessing. They believed in that promise enough to do whatever they had to do to get there. No, and then that made me reminded me of that story that I read. That was the source of my healing when I was in that hospital. That woman pressed through that crowd to grab that hem of Jesus' garment. She believed just a touch could heal her. It don't tell what she had to do to get there. How far she came. She was willing to do whatever it took to get through that crowd to get to him. If all she could do was touch it. It must have been pretty packed. But she pressed on. So Paul, the Apostle Paul, was willing to do whatever the Lord had for him to do. I remember years ago, here in Pine Bluff, they had at the at a regional at the park, they had this boat that came that was the replica of the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria that Columbus and sailed on. It's supposed to be an authentic replica of the boat that they sailed in. And I remember when we went to look at this boat, I was expecting to see something like you see on Pirates of the Caribbean with these big galley ships. They're huge. And I had seen one of those before from a distance. And that's what I was expecting to see, because that's what you think of from, TV and movies and stuff. But when we got there, and it was me and my uncle and my cousin, we went to go see it. And it was so tiny. I was like, that's the boat they came on? That's the boat that they sailed all the way across the unknown ocean on? And then I started thinking about the boats that they used to sail on in days, even like the Vikings. They were small. They were so tiny compared to what we think or about a ship today. And they didn't know what they were selling into. So that's like Paul. He got on the ship, and he sailed everywhere, and he suffered shipwrecks and all kinds of stuff. Jonah, he was on that ship, and a storm came up, and he told him to throw him overboard. You can imagine being out in the middle of the ocean, and there's a huge storm, and the ship's about to sink. And you just tell somebody, just throw me overboard. I'm done for. He know he done made it messed up when he didn't listen to what the Lord had for him to do. Anyway. So, you know, the journey itself is a sacrifice. Journey itself is the test. How far are you willing to go for the Lord? What, you know, what mountain you willing to climb? What sea are you willing to sail? It's not always, I mean, I'm not saying you always going to have to, but God wants to know that it's in your heart to do it to begin with. He sees that. He might test it a little bit, make sure it's genuine. I mean, you know, when if somebody told you that they was with you no matter what, you might want to make sure a little bit. Anyway. But I have faith that when the Lord tells you something, it's the truth. And He's going to do what He said He's going to do. So when you go through the test, there's a prize waiting on the other side. You don't do it for the prize. You do it for Him. You do it to show Him that you're willing to do it. You do it to show Him that you love Him enough to do it. Prize is just a bonus. Anyway, I just want to say that. I love it when the Lord gives me those messages through nature. It's amazing how He does that. He always does that. He will give you a word, an internal word, and then he'll confirm it externally. That's why it says the whole creation testifies. He's always speaking. We just gotta sit still and listen. And be willing to follow. That's why when you read the word, that's what Jesus, follow me, was all about. Saw Cardinal. I love y'all. I just wanted to check in with y'all this morning. I got a hard day ahead of me. But it's alright. A little hard work never killed anybody. Y'all have a good one.